Hi Titans, now we're going to start a new project called Photoshop Composites. The first thing I'm going to show you is that this project, although it is short, you may even finish it in 1 or 2 days, it is going to have 3 separate files. And you're not going to create 28 animals in each one. These are just several examples for you. I found these on the internet, but these are composite animals, which means that we've taken 2 animals and created a transition between them so that or between the parts of them that we're using, so that it creates a flow that looks realistic. So this is a bunny, a cat, and a dog, and I think that's a horse's tail, that this person put together, and they blended the transitions so that it looks kind of real. Same thing here with a squirrel and a little bird, owl, cat obviously, squirrel, duck, and a dogger pillar, another dogger pillar, and alligator frog or a frog-a-gator or whatever you want to call that, and this dog chick. So they're all good examples of what we're trying to do, except possibly this dog, because they're using kind of a different technique, which I really want us to combine 2 animals, not stretch the animal and just repeat its parts. So this is going to be the first file. I'm calling it animal as what you could refer to it as, but its title when you name it will not be animal. It will be PSC 1. This will be your PSC 2, and again, you're only going to create 1 composite. And this is a ladybug, Volkswagen Beetle, and a frog orange, and a snake cake. And this is a tomato mantis, and banana duck, and cotton candy dog, and well, it's not your obnoxious orange friend, but it's the same idea. So again, they blended these things in so that they are seamless, and they look like they could be real, even though we obviously know that they're not real. And that's a technique that we're going to be trying to learn. In the third file, you're going to create a combination of 2 things. Now, to be completely honest, I had trouble finding good examples of this. This is not really a good example because this is so photoshopped that it looks painted. This is not really a great example because there's no transition here. They covered up the place where the 2 things meet, which make it kind of avoid the project. You definitely could do this and it would be way easier, but you're not going to develop the skills and the tool use that I want you to learn in this project, which are part of your curriculum. So these are actually examples kind of what not to do. Again, you could see the seam here, and this person, all they really did was create the texture of the item on the other item, and that's not really enough. This is a good start, but it's not really what we're looking for. So again, I just had trouble looking for them. Maybe I didn't know what to look for, what to type in. I know that if I go to Google and type in Photoshop hybrid, I get tons of animal examples. So if you're bored and you need more examples, I'm gonna put a few more in the Prezi as well. But here are some. If you wanted to look some up, there are lots and lots. Now again, this would be a thing example. So it's a cucumber and a tomato. This person just overlaid one to the other. There's a little bit of transition here, but it's not really what I want to see. What I'd really rather see is what all these other people are doing, which is blending the animals so that it looks like it really goes together well, not that it's a separate area that they're covering. So again, not all these are going to be good examples for what we're looking for, but many of them are. Also, that thing that I was just talking about on the thing, basically this is something that you might do in the extra credit section of the project if you got done super early with the rest. Alright, but that said, that's the introduction to that project. Now I'm going to start showing you how I would start, and I'm going to start showing you what tools I would use. Your first objective is to choose and import 2 to 3 photos of animals that are similar in positions and have similar textures. So basically, I just typed in animal, but you could obviously go for whatever animal you want specifically. Obviously, we're not going to be using computer animated animals, we're not going to be using drawn animals, and we're not going to be using like cartoon animals. So they have to be photographs. So here are lots of examples that you could take, and in some cases, like, this is probably not enough animal, but in some cases, like, this might be enough. If you're only going to use the tiger's head and put it on like a bear's body, then this might be enough for the picture. But at least one of the animals should be a full body. It would be smart of you to get something with similar textures. So if you're working with fur, have it with fur or feathers on both animals. If you're working with scales, probably have scales on both animals. There are some ways that you could get around that though. This person did a pretty good job of blending their scales and fur, but the fur is really tight here. So pay attention to the textures of the animals that you're working with. It not only will make the project easier, but it will make it more believable as a final product. Photoshop project. We're going to go over to Photoshop. When you see this frame, that means Photoshop is open whether or not you see a page, and you probably won't see a page unless you left one open. We're going to go to File New because it's the beginning of a project, and as my Prezi states, it's going to be your last name, let's spell it right, your first name, your grade, I'm going to do grade 8 because it's a grade 8 project, and PS, which stands for Photoshop, C for composition, for composite, and this is number 1. All these numbers should be the numbers that you're putting in, and make sure that this is in inches before you put the numbers in. Then we're going to press OK and have a beautiful white piece of paper that's standing upright in this case. If you have a longer picture of your animals, like this is a longer picture, then I might have wanted to reverse those numbers. By the way, you could still do so now by going to image size and changing it, or canvas size would also change it at this point early in it before you start working. Alright, so the first thing I wanted to do is I downloaded this picture of a bear, and normally I would tell you that you should go directly to Google and drag the pictures in, and that's still true, but I'm going to show you the wrong way so that you know how to get out of the problem that it causes. Alright, so now if I'm clicking here, what you might have, and in this case I don't luckily, you might have a little icon here which is going to tell you that you can't edit the picture. So you just got to click the eraser. You'll have to place the image. See there that icon just came up. Let me drag this out so we could stop seeing all those Squirrel Man logos in the background distracting us. If you have this icon on one of your pictures, all you got to do is select your eraser tool and click it once. It'll ask you if you want to rasterize it, which means make it into an editable image, and you obviously want to edit it, so you're going to press OK. That'll allow you to change the picture if you need to. However, I'm not going to be changing this picture because I'm thinking that I'm going to try and use the existing background that's on the bear. So now I'm just looking for a squirrel that's in a similar position because obviously I want to make a squirrel bear. And look, there one is. Alright, granted I had to look a little bit longer than that. This I'm going to do the right way. I'm just going to click and drag it right on, and you'll see that that icon doesn't come up. I'm going to need to Command T it, and if it's so big that I can't see the outer edge, after I Command T I might also Command 0 so I could see the whole picture. And let me just pull this out so we can see a little bit better. Then I'm going to shrink it. And I'm going to hold shift while I'm shrinking it. That's going to keep it in proportion so my squirrel isn't too fat or too narrow. When I'm done with my transformation, I have to press return or it won't let me do anything else. Now for this tutorial, I'm only using 2 animals. You're allowed to use more than 2 animals, but I wanted to keep it simple for the tutorial. Also, I'm not going to show you the whole way through this process. I'm going to try and focus more on our objective specifically, which by the way, we just finished our first objective, and the tools that we're going to use specifically for each technique. Alright, so the first tool I'm going to use is the eraser, and I want it to be fuzzy, so I'm going to go up here and change the hardness to 0. By fuzzy, I mean it looks more like an airbrush, like these do, than a solid brush, like that does. So the size is up to you. Usually when I'm doing big spaces, I go big, but I just make sure to be neat. I'm removing the parts of the picture that I don't need. This, by the way, is the beginning of our second objective, which is I will edit my 2 or 3 pictures by removing parts I do not need and stacking the layers. So the layers are already stacked for now. They're not really in the position that they need to be in. Also, as part of the objective, we're transforming the pictures so that they form one animal hybrid. So already you should have like something nearly complete. Now my fuzzy eraser is really working well for the parts of this that are close to the squirrel because I'm keeping that fuzzy look to it, but I'm getting rid of all the background that is distracting. And I also don't need the bottom half of the squirrel because I've decided to just use the top half of the squirrel, and actually not even the top half, I'm just using the head really. However, I'm going to need some more of that stomach, so I just Command Alt-Z to get rid of it. Now you can see that I lost a lot of work when I did that, so it's smarter to like let go of your mouse every once in a while when you're erasing a lot of areas. This way if you make a mistake, I'm clicking a lot now, I could just Command Alt-Z and step backwards in time to remove those mistakes if I erase too much. Alright, so that's all review. Hopefully you knew most of that. Now when I get in tighter, I might use a more solid eraser, But again, I don't want to go too far with this right now. The next thing that we're going to, let me erase a little bit more of this because as I told you, I'm just using really the head. I'm just going to try and keep parts of the stomach around because I'm going to try and blend those in. All right, so already it doesn't look terrible. Obviously, we're going to have to position it a little bit better. I can see that I have some leftover things that need to be erased, so I'm going to, when I move it, those become clear. So I'm going to go ahead and erase those. And also I see that the size is wrong, so I'm going to have to Command T it and stretch it into place, but it's already looking not bad. The transition here is terrible, so this obviously looks like a fake picture so far. Let's Command 0 to bring it to full screen and then stretch this out so it could be a little bit bigger. But yeah, we could totally recognize that this is a fake and photoshopped image, and that's part of the problem. That's what we need to solve. So we are currently on objective 3, which is using 2 or more of the methods that I'm about to show within the video to create transitions between the separated animal parts so that the hybrid animal appears to be realistic and believable. The first thing I've actually already shown, the first technique, which is the eraser tool and a soft eraser, because that helps us fade things in. So that was actually the first technique that I want you to try using. The next technique is this tool right here, and it's called the rubber stamp or the clone stamp tool. We're going to use the clone stamp tool now. Now when I place my clone stamp tool over one of the images, you got to make sure you're on the right layer for this, by the way, I'm going to hold down the Alt button, which is going to make a target. So I'm now targeting this area right here. This area is where I'm going to start copying. Now you can see when I move my brush, it's going to try and draw that shape. So if I start moving my brush, it kind of fades it in. Now my brush is hard edged here, which is why you could see that transition there. So I'm going to Command Alt Z that. That was a mistake, but I'm glad it happened so that you guys could see what what we want it to look like. And now I can go ahead and start using my brush again, and you can see the target is on the screen. It's the X. It's moving while I move, and it's fading the squirrels, the repeated squirrel pattern of fur, right onto my drawing. Now this is definitely working it in a way that's starting to look more believable because the squirrel's stomach is now covering a lot of his body, which makes it more believable that the bear is attached to it. However, the transition is still not so great, and we could also work with the colors. I didn't select colors that were too close together, but I selected similar colors. You could select any different color you want because you could always Command U. I'm not actually going to do this now, but just to show you. And I could get that color to a closer brown if I need to by just moving these two, really, these two different things around. So I can get that brown to match the bear's brown a little bit more. I'm not going to work with that now. I'm not going to do that now. I want to do that in the end.